My name is Walter Green. I'm 71 years old, a retired postal worker, and for the past 4 years I've been living in a granny flat behind my daughter Michelle's house in Riverside, California. She converted the old garage into a small studio apartment for me after my wife Barbara passed away. "Dad, we want you close," she said. "The kids need their grandpa." She has 3 children, Emma who's 12, Lucas who's 9, and little Sophie who just turned 7. I thought moving onto their property was a blessing. I could see my grandchildren every day, help out when needed, but still have my independence. My little apartment has a kitchenette, a bathroom, a comfortable bed, and a chair by the window where I can watch the birds in the morning. But about 8 months ago, I started noticing something strange. My grandchildren, especially Lucas and Sophie, seemed scared of me. They'd avoid looking at me. They'd flinch when I reached out to hug them. Emma, the oldest, would give me these sad, pitying looks that I couldn't understand. I'm 71 years old. My hands shake a little from essential tremor. I walk with a cane because of my bad hip. My memory isn't quite as sharp as it used to be. But I'm not a scary person. I've never raised my voice to those children, never laid a hand on them. So why were they afraid of their own grandfather? What I discovered over the next few months was something so calculated, so cruel, that even now, even after everything, I can barely believe a person could do this to their own father. My daughter Michelle and her husband Derek were systematically turning my grandchildren against me, using lies, using manipulation, and worst of all, using my age and my medical conditions as weapons. If this story touches you, hit the like button, and subscribe so you don't miss stories like this one. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now let me tell you how I found out what was really happening in that house, and how a 71-year-old man with a cane and shaky hands fought back against people who thought he was too old to notice, too weak to act, and too isolated to be believed. It started small. Little things I noticed but couldn't quite put my finger on. The grandchildren used to run to my apartment every day after school. "Grandpa! Grandpa!" they'd shout, bursting through my door with their backpacks still on. Lucas would tell me about his day. Sophie would show me her drawings. Emma would ask me to help with her homework. But around February of this year, the visits stopped. They'd come home from school, and I'd watch from my window as they went straight into the main house without even glancing at my apartment. When I'd walk over for dinner, Michelle invited me for family dinner 3 times a week. The kids would be quiet, reserved. They'd answer my questions with one word: fine. Okay, nothing. Is everything all right? I asked Michelle one evening after the kids had gone to bed. They seemed distant with me. She smiled that tight smile I'd started seeing more often. "Oh, Dad, they're just growing up. You know how preteens and kids are. They get moody. Even Sophie. She's only 7. Especially 7-year-olds. She's in a phase." I wanted to believe her, but something felt wrong. Then came the incident with Lucas's birthday party. He was turning 9. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks, had bought him a remote control car he'd been wanting. The party was on Saturday afternoon in their backyard. But when Saturday came, I heard music, laughter, children playing. I looked out my window and saw the party happening. Balloons, a bounce house, kids everywhere, and nobody had told me. I walked over with the gift, confused. Michelle saw me coming, and her face tightened. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "It's Lucas's party. I brought his gift." "Oh, right. Well, we didn't think you'd want to come. It's pretty loud, lots of kids running around. We thought it might be overwhelming for you." "Overwhelming? Michelle, it's my grandson's birthday." "I know, but..." She lowered her voice. "Lucas has been having some anxiety lately, around older people. We didn't want to make him uncomfortable." That stopped me cold. Anxiety? Around me? Not just you, Dad. All older people. It's a phase. His therapist says we should respect his boundaries. His therapist? Lucas is seeing a therapist. Yes. He's been having some issues at school, nightmares at home. We're getting him help. I felt like I'd been punched. My grandson was having nightmares and seeing a therapist, and nobody had told me? What kind of nightmares? Michelle glanced back at the party. "Dad, this isn't a good time. Let's talk later, okay?" "But..." "Later, Dad. She took the gift and closed the gate in my face, gently, but firmly. I stood there, a 71-year-old man with a cane, holding onto the fence, watching my grandson's birthday party through the slats. Lucas saw me. For a moment, our eyes met, and the look on his face wasn't love or joy. It was fear. He looked away quickly and ran to his mother. I went back to my apartment and sat in my chair, trying to understand. What had I done to make my grandson afraid of me? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Lucas's face, about the kids avoiding me, about Michelle's excuses. At around 11 p.m., I got up to get some water and looked out my window. Michelle and Derek were on their back patio, drinks in hand, talking. Their voices carried in the quiet night. "Don't know how much longer we can keep this up," Derek was saying. "We don't have a choice," Michelle replied. "We need that money. The house payment is due, the kids' school tuition. But your dad's not stupid, Michelle. He's going to figure out. He's 71 with essential tremor and early-stage memory issues. Nobody's going to believe him over us." I froze. Memory issues? I didn't have memory issues. I had a sharp mind. The only memory problem I'd had was forgetting where I put my reading glasses last month, which could happen to anyone. "What about the kids?" Derek asked. "Emma's starting to feel guilty. Emma will do what we tell her. They all will. Another 6 months, and we'll have conservatorship. Then we can sell his house in Phoenix, liquidate his investments, and solve all our financial problems." My blood ran cold. Conservatorship? My house? I owned a house in Phoenix that I'd been renting out since moving here. It was worth about $400,000. My retirement savings were substantial. I'd worked for 35 years for the Postal Service and had a good pension plus savings. They were trying to get control of my money, and they were turning my grandchildren against me to do it. I stood at that window, shaking, not from essential tremor, but from rage and fear. My own daughter, my own son-in-law. They were planning to take everything from me by having me declared incompetent. The next morning, I drove to my doctor's office. I still drove, despite Michelle's recent comments about how maybe it was time to think about giving up the keys. Dr. Patricia Simmons had been my doctor for 3 years. "Walter, what brings you in without an appointment?" "Dr. Simmons, I need you to do a full cognitive assessment, memory test, mental capacity, everything." She looked concerned. "Is something wrong? Have you been experiencing symptoms?" "No, but my daughter seems to think I have memory issues. I need documentation that I don't." She studied me for a moment. "Walter, is everything okay at home?" And I told her. Everything. The kids avoiding me. Lucas's supposed anxiety around elderly people. The birthday party. The conversation I'd overheard. Dr. Simmons's expression grew serious. "Walter, what you're describing sounds like elder financial abuse. They're isolating you and building a case for incompetency. Can you help me? I can document your current cognitive state. And Walter, you should consider talking to a lawyer. If they're planning for conservatorship, you need to protect yourself." Over the next week, I did exactly that. Dr. Simmons ran extensive tests. Memory, cognitive function, decision-making capacity. All came back normal for my age. Some mild slowing, which is typical for 71, but no impairment that would justify conservatorship. "You're sharp, Walter," she said when giving me the results. "Your mind is sound. Keep these documents safe." I also consulted with an attorney named Margaret Chen. She specialized in elder law. "Mr. Green, your daughter can't get conservatorship without proving you're unable to manage your affairs. But they can try. And the process itself can be damaging, expensive, time-consuming, emotionally devastating. What should I do?" "Document everything. Their isolation attempts. Any lies they tell about your condition. And Mr. Green, I'm going to be blunt. You might need to consider moving out. If you're on their property, they control your access to the outside world." "But my grandchildren." "Your grandchildren are being manipulated right now. If you want to save your relationship with them, you need to first save yourself." I left her office feeling sick. Move out. Leave my grandchildren with people who were using them as pawns? But I knew she was right. I needed evidence. I needed to document what was happening. And I needed to understand exactly what Michelle and Derek were telling those children about me. That's when I decided to buy a doorbell camera. The young man at the electronics store looked at me skeptically when I said I wanted a doorbell camera for an apartment without a doorbell. Sir, these are designed to be installed on front doors. I understand, but I want to mount it outside my apartment entrance. I need to see who comes to my door. He shrugged and sold me a Ring doorbell camera. It took me 2 hours and a YouTube tutorial to install it. My shaking hands made it difficult, but I got it working. The camera faced my door, but it also had a wide-angle view of the pathway between my apartment and the main house. I set it up on my phone. Motion detection, recording, the works. For 3 days, nothing unusual happened. Michelle brought me dinner twice. The kids didn't visit. Normal, sadly. But on the 4th day, a school day, something changed. I was inside reading when I got a motion alert on my phone. I pulled it up and saw Emma, Lucas, and Sophie walking from the school bus toward the main house. They were talking among themselves, looking normal, happy, even. But then, about 20 feet from my door, they stopped. I saw Michelle come out of the main house and walk toward them. Okay, remember what we talked about? I heard her say through the camera audio. If Grandpa comes over for dinner tonight, you know what to do. Mom, I don't want to. That was Emma. Emma, we've been over this. Grandpa is sick. His mind is going. The things he says aren't real. He gets confused and aggressive, but he's never been aggressive. Because we've been careful, Michelle interrupted. But the doctor says it could happen any time. That's why we need to be careful. That's why you need to keep your distance and do exactly what we practice. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. What if he tries to hug us? Sophie asked in her small voice. Then you step back and say, I need space, Grandpa, just like we practiced. And if he asks why, you say what? The 3 children recited together, like they'd rehearsed, because the doctor says we should give you space. Good. And remember, all of this is to help Grandpa. He's old and sick and he doesn't understand what's happening to him. We're the only ones who can protect him. But we can only protect him if we follow the rules. Can we tell him we love him? That was Sophie again, and my heart broke. Of course, sweetie, but from a distance. And remember, don't tell anyone at school about Grandpa's condition. People don't understand. They might try to take Grandpa away from us and put him in a nursing home. You don't want that, do you? All 3 children shook their heads vigorously. Good. Now go inside and start your homework. Grandpa's coming at 6 for dinner. The children walked toward the house. Emma looked back once at my apartment, her expression troubled. Then they were gone. I sat there, staring at my phone, unable to breathe. They were coaching the children, telling them I was sick, aggressive, confused, making the children afraid of me while pretending it was for my own protection, and threatening them with nursing homes to ensure they kept quiet. I saved that recording immediately, backed it up to the cloud, sent a copy to my email. This was evidence. That night at dinner, I watched it happen exactly as Michelle had choreographed. When I arrived at 6, I reached to hug Sophie like I always did. She stepped back. I need space, Grandpa. Space? Sweetie, what's wrong? She looked at her mother. Michelle nodded encouragingly. Because the doctor says we should give you space. I straightened up, as much as my bad hip allowed, and looked at Michelle. What doctor? What is she talking about? Dad, let's sit down for dinner. We can talk about this later. No. What have you been telling them? Dad, please don't raise your voice. You're scaring the children. I wasn't raising my voice. I was speaking normally. But I saw Lucas flinch anyway, right on cue. Derek stood up. Walter, I think you should calm down. I am calm. I just want to know why my granddaughter is afraid to hug me. Nobody's afraid of you, Dad, Michelle said in that soothing, condescending tone. We're just being cautious. Dr. Patterson recommended some boundaries while we figure out your medications. What medications? I'm not on any new medications. And who is Dr. Patterson? He's the geriatric specialist we consulted about your essential tremor and memory issues. I don't have memory issues. Dad, you forgot Lucas's birthday party last week. You forgot Emma's violin recital the week before. These lapses are concerning. My mind raced. I didn't forget Lucas's party. Nobody told me about it, and I didn't know about any violin recital. We told you, Dad, multiple times. You just don't remember. I looked at the children. Emma was staring at her plate. Lucas looked confused. Sophie's eyes were filling with tears. This is a lie, I said quietly. All of it, and I can prove it. Michelle's expression flickered. Just for a second. Fear, anger. Then the mask was back. Dad, this is exactly what Dr. Patterson warned us about. Paranoid thinking. Accusations. It's part of the progression. Progression of what? Your dementia, Dad. The word hung in the air like poison. Dementia. I don't have dementia. I saw Dr. Simmons last week. I took every test. I'm cognitively sound. Dad, Dr. Simmons is a general practitioner. Dr. Patterson is a specialist, and he's very concerned about your decline. I want to meet Dr. Patterson. That's not necessary. If he's so concerned about my decline, I want to meet him. What's his first name? Where's his office? Michelle hesitated. Just briefly. Robert Patterson. He's in Newport Beach. Give me his number. I'll call him tomorrow. Dad, I don't think. Give me his number, Michelle. Derek stood up. Walter, you're getting agitated. Maybe you should go back to your apartment and rest. We'll talk about this when you're calmer. I'm perfectly calm. You're frightening the children. I looked at Sophie. Tears were running down her face. Lucas was gripping his fork so hard his knuckles were white. Emma looked like she wanted to disappear. And I realized they genuinely believed I was sick. Michelle and Derek had convinced them that their grandfather was deteriorating mentally, becoming unstable. The fear in their eyes wasn't fake. They truly thought I was dangerous. I'm sorry, I said, softening my voice. I didn't mean to upset you guys. Grandpa's just confused about some things, but I promise I'm okay. That's what people with dementia always say, Michelle said quietly. They don't realize they're sick. I left without eating, walked back to my apartment, my cane tapping on the concrete, and sat in the dark. They were building a narrative. Walter Green, 71, deteriorating mentally, aggressive, paranoid, forgetful, a danger to himself and possibly others, all leading to one goal: conservatorship, control of my finances, my house, everything I'd worked for, and they were using my own grandchildren as witnesses. I pulled up the Ring camera footage again, watched Michelle coaching the kids. The doctor says we should give you space. I played it 5 times, memorizing every word. Then I called attorney Margaret Chen's emergency line. Margaret, they've escalated. They're telling the children I have dementia. They're coaching them to be afraid of me. And they're citing a doctor I've never met. Did you record any of this? I have them on camera coaching the kids before dinner. And I have my own doctor's evaluation proving I'm cognitively sound. Good. Very good. Walter, listen to me carefully. Do not confront them directly again. Keep recording. Document everything. And Walter, it's time to move out. Tonight, if possible. Do you have somewhere safe to go? I have a friend from the Postal Service, Tom. He lives about 30 miles from here. Call him. Pack a bag. Leave before they can file anything claiming you're a danger to yourself. Once you're safe, we'll go on the offensive. But the kids. Walter, the best way to help your grandchildren is to prove their mother is manipulating them. You can't do that if you're stuck on her property under her control. She was right. I knew she was right, but leaving felt like abandoning them. If this story is moving you, please hit the like button right now, and subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your support means everything. I called Tom Rodriguez at 10 p.m. We'd worked together at the Postal Service for 20 years before we both retired. Walter, everything okay? Tom, I need a favor. A big one. Can I stay with you for a while? Maybe a few weeks. Of course. What's going on? I told him everything. When I finished, Tom was silent for a long moment. Pack your things. I'm coming to get you right now. It's 10 p.m. I don't care. Pack your medications, important documents, clothes for 2 weeks. I'll be there in 45 minutes. While I waited, I gathered everything I might need. medical records, financial statements, the recordings from the Ring camera, my passport and birth certificate, copies of my will. I also wrote a note and left it on my kitchen counter. Gone to stay with a friend for a while. Need some space to think. Will be in touch. Dad. I didn't tell them where or with whom. Let them wonder. Tom arrived at 11 p.m. We loaded my things quietly into his car. As we drove away, I looked back at my little apartment, the main house dark except for one light upstairs. I wondered if the children were asleep, if they were having nightmares about their sick grandfather. Tom's place was a small ranch house in Norco. He'd been widowed 5 years earlier and lived alone with 2 cats. Guest room's all yours, he said, showing me. Stay as long as you need. Thanks, Tom. I'll pay you. Shut up. We're friends. The next morning, I called Margaret Chen from Tom's house. I'm out. I'm safe. What's next? Now we investigate. You said Michelle mentioned a Dr. Robert Patterson in Newport Beach. Yes. She claimed he's a geriatric specialist treating me. Let's find out if he's real. I'll have my investigator check. In the meantime, get me copies of all those Ring camera recordings. Over the next 3 days, several things happened. First, Margaret's investigator found no Dr. Robert Patterson practicing geriatric medicine in Newport Beach. In fact, there was no doctor by that name anywhere in Orange County. Michelle had made him up. Second, I received angry phone calls from Michelle. 7 of them. I didn't answer. She left voicemails. Dad, where are you? We're worried sick. Dad, this is exactly the kind of thing Dr. Patterson warned about. Wandering, confusion. Please come home. Dad, the kids are terrified. They think something happened to you. Please at least tell us you're okay. On the 3rd day, she tried a different approach. Dad, Derek and I have been talking to a lawyer. If you don't come back, we might have to file a missing persons report. The police will find you, and then they'll see that you're not capable of living independently. Is that what you want? Just come home. We can work this out. I saved every voicemail. Third, I started monitoring my Ring camera remotely. Michelle and Derek didn't know I'd installed it, so they didn't think to remove it. And it captured everything. Day 2 of my absence, I watched Michelle and Derek have an argument on the pathway. He's gone, Michelle was saying, her voice shrill. What if he went to a lawyer? What if he's contesting the conservatorship? We haven't filed for conservatorship yet, Derek pointed out. But we were going to. Next month. We had everything lined up, the kids' testimonies, the narrative about his decline, and now he's just gone. Maybe he actually is having memory issues. Maybe he just wandered off. No, Michelle said firmly. He's too smart for that. He heard something, or figured something out. Damn it, she kicked at the ground. We needed that money, Derek. The equity line is maxed out. The credit cards are maxed out. We were counting on Dad's house too. I know, Derek said quietly. What do we do now? We find him, and we prove he's incompetent before he can prove he's not. I watched them walk back into the house, my daughter and son-in-law, plotting how to steal everything from me. Margaret was right. I needed to go on the offensive. Emma's perspective. I'm 12 years old and I don't know what to believe anymore. Mom says Grandpa is sick, that his brain isn't working right, that he gets confused and aggressive. But I've known Grandpa my whole life and he's never been aggressive. He's the gentlest person I know. But Mom wouldn't lie, would she? Except I keep thinking about things that don't make sense. Like when Mom said Grandpa forgot Lucas's birthday party, but I was standing right there when she decided not to invite him. She told Dad, let's just make it family friends. Your dad will be too overwhelmed with all the kids. There was no forgetting. She just didn't tell him. And the violin recital Mom said he forgot? I never had a violin recital. I play piano, not violin. I almost corrected her at dinner, but Lucas kicked me under the table. After Grandpa left, I went to my room and cried, because I think Mom is lying. And if Mom is lying about Grandpa being sick, then what else is she lying about? Lucas came to my room after Mom and Dad went to sleep. Emma, is Grandpa really sick? I don't know. Mom says he is, but he seems normal to me. Me too. Then why is Mom saying he's not? I didn't have an answer, but I knew one thing. Grandpa had been good to us our whole lives. He'd never hurt us, never lied to us. And if he said Mom was lying, maybe I should believe him. Lucas, if Grandpa calls, I'm going to talk to him. I don't care what Mom says. Lucas nodded. Me too. Narrator. On day 4, Margaret Chen called with news. Walter, I filed a petition with the court, a declaration of your competency, with supporting medical documentation from Dr. Simmons. I've also filed a restraining order request against Michelle and Derek, preventing them from accessing your financial accounts. Will they know? They'll be served papers today. And Walter, there's more. Based on the recordings you provided, I've contacted Child Protective Services. What Michelle and Derek are doing, coaching children to fear a family member, threatening them with nursing homes, that's psychological abuse. My heart sank. I don't want the kids taken away. They won't be. Not unless there's evidence of direct harm. But CPS will investigate. They'll interview the children separately. And Walter, those interviews might reveal the truth. That afternoon, my phone rang. Emma's number. I answered immediately. Grandpa. Emma, sweetheart, are you okay? Grandpa, where are you? Mom says you left because you're confused, but I don't think that's true. Did you leave because of what Mom said at dinner? Smart girl. Just like her grandmother. Emma, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I'm not sick. I don't have dementia. My brain works just fine. Your mom and dad were telling you things that weren't true. Silence. Then, I knew it. I knew you weren't sick. But why would Mom lie? How do you explain to a 12-year-old that her mother is trying to steal from her grandfather? Grown-ups sometimes make bad choices, Emma. But here's what's important. I love you, and Lucas, and Sophie very much. And I'm going to make sure everything turns out okay. Mom's really mad. She keeps yelling at Dad that you ruined everything. Ruined what? I don't know. But Grandpa, some people came to the house today. They said they were from Child Services. They wanted to talk to me and Lucas and Sophie separately. What did you tell them? I told them the truth. That Mom told us you were sick, but you never seemed sick to me. That she made us practice saying we needed space from you. That she said we'd put you in a nursing home if we told anyone. You're a brave girl, Emma. Grandpa, are you coming back? Not to live there, sweetheart, but I'll see you soon. I promise. After we hung up, I sat with my phone in my hand, hoping I'd done the right thing. The CPS investigation moved faster than I expected. Within a week, I received a call from the caseworker, a woman named Jennifer Morrison. Mr. Green, I've completed my initial interviews with all 3 children. I'd like to meet with you as well. We met at a coffee shop in Corona. Jennifer was in her 40s, professional but warm. Mr. Green, I want to be direct with you. What your daughter and son-in-law have been doing constitutes emotional manipulation of minors, coaching children to fear a family member, using threats of institutionalization, creating a false narrative of illness. These are serious concerns. Are the children okay? Physically, yes. Emotionally, they're confused and frightened. Emma, the oldest, seems to understand that she was being manipulated. Lucas and Sophie are less certain. They've been told you're sick for months now. Undoing that kind of psychological conditioning takes time. What happens next? I've referred the case for further investigation. Michelle and Derek will be required to attend family therapy. The children will have separate therapy. And Mr. Green, the children's therapist, will likely want to do some sessions with you present to rebuild trust. Whatever they need. I just want my grandchildren back. Jennifer smiled sadly. The good news is, Emma has already asked if she can see you. She's quite insistent about it. Would you be open to a supervised visit? Of course. 3 days later, I met Emma at a family counseling center. A therapist named Dr. Rebecca Oakes supervised. When Emma walked in, she ran to me and hugged me so hard I almost fell over. My cane clattered to the floor. Grandpa, I missed you so much. I missed you too, sweetheart. We sat down, and Dr. Oakes gently guided the conversation. Emma, can you tell your grandfather how you've been feeling? Emma's eyes filled with tears. Confused. Mom keeps saying you're sick, but you seem fine. And I keep thinking about all the things she said you forgot. But Grandpa, I don't think you actually forgot. I think she just didn't tell you. You're very perceptive, Emma. Am I in trouble for telling the CPS lady the truth? No, sweetheart, you're not in trouble. You did exactly the right thing. Mom's really mad. She says I betrayed the family. My heart clenched. Emma, telling the truth is never betrayal. Your mom is angry, but that's not your fault. That's her choice. Lucas and Sophie are still scared. They think you're going to yell at them because of what they said at dinner. I would never yell at them. None of this is their fault either. Dr. Oakes interjected. Emma, your grandfather and I have discussed doing family sessions with you and your siblings. Would you be comfortable with that? Emma nodded eagerly. Can we do it without Mom and Dad? Initially, yes. The goal is to rebuild trust between you kids and your grandfather. Later, we might include your parents. Over the next 3 weeks, we had 5 therapy sessions. First just Emma, then Emma and Lucas together. Finally, all 3 children. Sophie was the hardest. At 7, she'd been the most susceptible to Michelle's manipulation. She was terrified of me at first, hiding behind Emma. Sophie, I love you, I told her gently. I'm not sick. I'm not confused. I'm just your grandpa who wants to read you stories and make you pancakes like we used to. But Mommy said. I know what Mommy said, but Mommy was wrong. It took 3 sessions, but eventually Sophie climbed into my lap again, just like she used to. When she did, I cried. Old man tears that I couldn't stop. Dr. Oakes said it was one of the most moving moments she'd witnessed in her career. Lucas's perspective. I'm 9 and I don't understand grown-ups anymore. Mom said Grandpa was sick, that we had to be careful around him, that he might get aggressive or confused. She made us practice what to say, made us promise not to tell anyone because people would take Grandpa away. But then the lady from Child Services came, and she asked us questions, and Emma told her everything. Mom was so angry when she found out. She said Emma ruined everything, that we were going to lose the house and it was all Grandpa's fault for leaving. But I don't think it's Grandpa's fault. I think maybe Mom was lying. I saw Grandpa at Dr. Oakes's office yesterday. He looked the same as always, maybe a little sadder, but not sick, not confused, not aggressive. He asked me about school, about my friends, about my favorite video game, just like always. And I realized I missed him. I missed my grandpa. Mom said you forgot my birthday party, I told him. But Emma says you were never invited, which is true. Grandpa looked sad. I was never told about your party, Lucas. I would never forget your birthday. So Mom lied. Yes, I'm sorry, but yes. I started crying then, because if Mom lied about that, what else did she lie about? Grandpa hugged me. His hands were shaking. They always shake a little, but his hug was strong. It's okay to be confused, Lucas. It's okay to be angry, but I want you to know, none of this is your fault, and I love you no matter what. I believe him. I don't know if I can believe Mom anymore, but I believe Grandpa. While the CPS investigation was unfolding, Margaret Chen was pursuing the financial angle. She'd subpoenaed Michelle and Derek's financial records as part of my competency declaration case. What she found was damning. Walter, your daughter and son-in-law are in serious financial trouble. They owe $420,000 on a house worth $380,000. They're underwater. They have $73,000 in credit card debt. Derek's business failed 2 years ago. Michelle hasn't worked since Emma was born. They're 3 months behind on the mortgage. How have they been surviving? Small personal loans, borrowing from friends. And Walter, they took out a $50,000 loan in your name 6 months ago. My blood ran cold. What? They used your information to apply for a personal loan, forged your signature. The money went straight into their account. That's fraud. Yes. And it's felony elder abuse. I've already filed a police report. Detective Sarah Martinez is handling the case. 2 days later, Detective Martinez called me. Mr. Green, I've reviewed the evidence your attorney provided. The forged loan documents, the recorded conversations, the CPS reports. I have enough to arrest your daughter and son-in-law for elder financial abuse and fraud. What about the children? CPS is already involved. If we arrest the parents, the children will be placed temporarily with a family member or in foster care while we sort everything out. I thought about that. Emma, Lucas, and Sophie, taken from their home, put with strangers or distant relatives. Detective, can we wait just a little longer? The kids are already traumatized. I don't want them to see their parents arrested. Mr. Green, I understand your concern, but your daughter has committed multiple felonies. She could do this to someone else. I know. Just give me 2 weeks. Let me get the kids stable first. Then you can arrest them. She agreed, reluctantly. I called a family meeting at Dr. Oakes's office. Michelle and Derek were required to attend as part of the CPS investigation. They arrived looking haggard. Michelle's hair wasn't styled. Derek had lost weight. The children were there too, with Dr. Oakes present. Before we start, I said, I want Michelle and Derek to know that I'm aware of everything. The fake doctor, the forged loan, the coaching of the children. All of it. Michelle's face went white. Derek stared at the floor. You tried to steal from me, I continued, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. You tried to have me declared incompetent so you could take my house, my savings, everything I worked 40 years to build. And worst of all, you used my grandchildren as pawns. Dad, we were desperate, Michelle started. Desperate. My voice rose despite myself. You were desperate, so you destroyed my relationship with my grandchildren? You made them afraid of their own grandfather? You told 7-year-old Sophie that I might hurt her. Sophie started crying. Emma put an arm around her. Mr. and Mrs. Evans, Dr. Oakes interjected, do you understand the psychological damage you've done to your children? Michelle was crying now too. We didn't know what else to do. We were going to lose the house, lose everything. So you decided to take everything from me instead? I asked quietly. Derek finally spoke, his voice hoarse. Walter, I'm sorry. We're sorry. We made terrible choices. We thought you wouldn't notice. That you'd just sign the conservatorship papers and everything would be okay. Except I'd lose my freedom, my independence, my dignity. We weren't going to put you in a home. You told the children you would. You used that threat to keep them quiet. Emma stood up. I can't listen to this anymore. Mom, Dad, you lied to us. 4 months. You made us think Grandpa was sick. You made me afraid to hug him. How could you do that? Michelle reached for her. Emma, honey, don't touch me. Emma stepped back. I don't trust you anymore. Dr. Oakes called for a break. The children went to a separate room. Michelle and Derek sat across from me, broken. What happens now? Derek asked. Now, Margaret has filed for a restraining order preventing you from accessing my accounts. The police are investigating the forged loan. CPS is monitoring the children. And you'll both be arrested for elder abuse and fraud unless you agree to my terms. Michelle's head snapped up. Terms. 1. You pay back the $50,000 loan, even if you have to sell the house. 2. You undergo court-ordered therapy. 3. You never, ever try to manipulate my relationship with my grandchildren again. 4. You publicly admit, to the children, to your family, to everyone, what you did. And if we agree, Derek asked, then I won't press charges. You'll avoid prison, but you'll have to rebuild your children's trust from scratch, and that might take years. Michelle looked at me with something like hatred. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Having power over us. No, Michelle, I'm not enjoying anything about this. I'm a 71-year-old man whose own daughter tried to steal from him. There's no joy in that, only sadness. Michelle and Derek agreed to my terms. They had no choice, really. The alternative was prison. They sold their house, moved into a smaller rental. Derek got a job as a sales manager at a car dealership. Michelle went back to work part-time as a paralegal. Every penny they could spare went toward paying back the $50,000 loan. The children stayed with them, but CPS required regular check-ins for 6 months, and I had court-ordered visitation rights, 3 afternoons a week, every other weekend. I moved into a senior apartment community in Corona, about 10 miles from Michelle and Derek's new place. Small, but mine. Independent, safe. The children came to visit every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. At first, Michelle would sit in the parking lot the entire time, watching, making sure I didn't poison them against her, she said. But Dr. Oakes told her she had to stop. You need to rebuild trust, Mrs. Evans, and that means letting go of control. So she did, reluctantly. My apartment became a haven for the kids. We'd make cookies, watch movies, do homework, just spend time together without fear or manipulation. Emma was the quickest to recover. At 12, she understood what had happened and why. She was angry at her parents, but she was also mature enough to work through it in therapy. Lucas took longer. He'd had nightmares for months about Grandpa getting aggressive. It took many sessions with Dr. Oakes and many quiet afternoons with me before he fully relaxed again. Sophie was the toughest. At 7, she'd believed everything her mother told her. The fear had been real. Even now, a year later, she sometimes looks at me nervously, checks my hands to see if they're shaking more than usual, asks if I'm feeling okay. I'm fine, Sophie. I always tell her. Grandpa's hands shake a little, but that's normal. I'm not sick. Promise. Promise. Michelle and Derek's public admission came in the form of a family meeting with their parents, my ex-wife Janet, and Derek's parents. They confessed everything. The financial problems, the scheme, the manipulation of the children. Janet called me afterward, crying, "Walter, I had no idea. If I'd known." It's not your fault, Janet. They hid it well. The kids don't trust them anymore. Emma told me she wants to live with you. That stopped me. What? She's 12. In California, at 12, kids can express a custody preference. She told the court she wants to live with her grandfather. I met with Emma privately. "Sweetheart, you know I'd love to have you. But are you sure? Your parents made mistakes, but they're still your parents. Grandpa, they lied to me for months. They used me to hurt you. I can't forgive that. Not yet. Maybe not ever." Where does that leave Lucas and Sophie? Lucas wants to come too. Sophie's too young to decide, but I think she'd come if we did. I contacted Margaret Chen. Is this even possible? Can a 71-year-old man with essential tremor get custody of 3 children? With your financial stability, your cognitive assessments, your established relationship with the children, and their expressed preferences? Yes, it's possible. But Walter, it would be a huge responsibility. Are you sure you're up for it? I thought about my shaking hands, my cane, my age. I was 71. Most people my age were thinking about full retirement, maybe a cruise, definitely not raising 3 kids. But these weren't just any kids. They were my grandchildren, and they needed me. Yes, I told Margaret. I'm sure. Sophie's perspective. I'm 7.5 now. I live with Grandpa Walter in his apartment. Emma and Lucas are here too. We all have our own rooms. Mom and Dad visit every other weekend. It's weird. They're like strangers now. They try to be nice, but it's not the same. Mom cries a lot during visits. She says she's sorry for lying to us. She says she was scared and made bad choices. I don't really understand what that means. I asked Grandpa if Mom and Dad still love us. Of course they do, Sophie. They just showed their love in a very wrong way. Do you still love them? Grandpa thought about that for a long time. I love my daughter, but I don't like what she did. There's a difference. I think I understand. I love Mom, but I don't like that she lied, and I don't trust her anymore. Maybe someday I will again, but not now. Grandpa's hands shake when he makes us breakfast, but that's okay. He says it's just essential tremor and it doesn't hurt. Sometimes I help him button his shirt when his hands shake too much. He says I'm a good helper. Emma asked him last week if he was too old to take care of us. Grandpa laughed. Probably, but I'm doing it anyway. And you know what? You kids keep me young. Lucas said, "You're not young, Grandpa. You're 71. Grandpa laughed again. Fair point, but I'm young at heart. How's that? I think Grandpa saved us. From Mom and Dad's lies. From being scared all the time. From thinking our Grandpa was sick when he wasn't. Now we're safe. And even though Grandpa is old and his hands shake and he walks with a cane, he's strong. He protected us when no one else would. That makes him a hero." Emma says so. Lucas says so, and I say so too. The custody hearing took place 8 months after I'd left Michelle's property. Judge Patricia Nguyen presided. Michelle and Derek's lawyer argued that 3 children couldn't be placed with a 71-year-old man with medical conditions. Your Honor, Mr. Green is well-meaning, but he's elderly, he has essential tremor, he uses a cane. How can he possibly provide adequate care for 3 active children? Margaret stood up. Your Honor, Mr. Green has been providing excellent care for 8 months. The children are thriving. Emma's grades have improved. Lucas's anxiety has decreased. Sophie is no longer having nightmares. All 3 children have expressed a strong preference to remain with their grandfather. But for how long? The opposing lawyer pressed. What happens when Mr. Green's health declines further? When he can't keep up with them? Judge Nguyen looked at me. Mr. Green, these are valid concerns. How do you respond? I stood up slowly, my cane supporting me. Your Honor, I'm 71 years old. Yes, my hands shake. Yes, I use a cane. Yes, I'm slower than I used to be. But I have something Michelle and Derek don't have right now. My grandchildren's trust. I make them breakfast every morning. I help with homework every evening. I drive them to school, to therapy, to their friends' houses. I read to Sophie at bedtime. I watch Lucas's soccer games. I listen when Emma needs to talk about her feelings. Am I perfect? No. Some days my hip hurts and I can't do everything I want to do. But the kids understand. They help me when I need it, and I help them. We're a team. And yes, someday my health will decline more. Maybe I'll need more help. But Your Honor, these children have already been through so much. They need stability right now. They need someone they trust. They need someone who will never lie to them. I can give them that for as long as I'm able. Judge Nguyen reviewed the case files, Dr. Oakes's reports, the CPS evaluation, the children's own statements. I've reviewed all the evidence, and I've noted that all 3 children, even 7-year-old Sophie, have expressed a clear preference to remain with their grandfather. Emma, who is 12, has been particularly vocal about this preference. While Mr. Green's age and medical conditions are concerns, the evidence shows he has been providing excellent care. The children are healthy, attending school regularly, receiving therapy, and by all accounts thriving. Therefore, I'm granting temporary custody to Mr. Walter Green for a period of 1 year. At the end of that year, we'll review the arrangement. Michelle and Derek Evans will have supervised visitation twice monthly and will continue their court-ordered therapy. Mr. Green, understand that if at any point you feel unable to continue providing care, you must inform the court immediately. I understand, Your Honor. The gavel fell. Custody was mine. Michelle sobbed in the courtroom. Derek put his head in his hands. Their lawyer looked defeated. Emma, Lucas, and Sophie, who'd been waiting outside, ran to me when we exited the courtroom. We get to stay with you? Sophie asked. You get to stay with me forever, for at least a year, maybe longer. We'll see. Forever, Emma said firmly. We're staying forever. I'm sitting here today, 2 years after I first installed that Ring doorbell camera outside my apartment, and I want to tell you where we all are now. I'm 73 years old. My essential tremor is worse. My hands shake more now. I had to give up driving 6 months ago, which was hard. Tom helps me with transportation, and Emma is learning to drive, though she won't get her license for another year. My hip is worse too. I need the cane all the time now, and sometimes I use a walker around the house. The kids joke that I'm becoming bionic, with all my medical equipment, but I'm still here, still standing, still their grandfather. Emma is 14 now. She's in high school, honor roll student. She wants to be a lawyer, like Margaret Chen. I want to help people like you helped us, Grandpa, she told me. Lucas is 11. He's on the soccer team and doing well. His anxiety is mostly gone, though he still sees Dr. Oakes once a month. He's a good kid, sensitive, kind. Sophie is 9. She's the artistic one, always drawing, painting, making things. She made me a painting for my 73rd birthday. It shows our family, her, Lucas, Emma, and me. We're all holding hands. In the background, very small, are Michelle and Derek, watching from a distance. They're still part of our family, Sophie explained, but they're not close anymore. That about sums it up. Michelle and Derek still have supervised visits twice a month. The visits are awkward, strained. The kids are polite, but distant. Michelle tries too hard, bringing gifts, making promises. The kids accept the gifts but don't trust the promises. Derek is quieter. He mostly just sits and watches, like he doesn't know how to talk to his own children anymore. Last month, Michelle asked if we could have a family meeting. Just the adults. So Margaret arranged it at her office. I want to apologize, Michelle said. Really apologize. Not because the court is making me, but because I need you to know, all of you, that I was wrong. What I did to Dad, to the kids, it was unforgivable. Yet you're asking to be forgiven, I pointed out. I'm asking for a chance. Someday, maybe when the kids are older. I know I can't undo what I did, but I want them to know I'm sorry. That I'm getting help, that I'm trying to be better. Are you? I asked. Better. She pulled out a folder. I've been in therapy for 2 years. Here's my therapist's evaluation. I've completed anger management, financial counseling, parenting classes. I've been working steadily. Derek and I have paid back $38,000 of the $50,000 we owe you. We're on track to pay it all back in 2 more years. I took the folder but didn't open it. Michelle, I'm glad you're getting help. Truly. But the question isn't whether I forgive you. It's whether the kids do, and whether they ever trust you again. Do you think they will? I don't know. Emma's still very angry. Lucas is confused. Sophie barely remembers the time before all this happened. What do I do? You keep being their mother. From a distance. You show up for visits. You don't make promises you can't keep. You let them come to you when they're ready. And you accept that they might never fully trust you again. Her face crumpled. That's my punishment, isn't it? Living with what I did. That's not punishment, Michelle. That's consequence. After she left, Margaret asked, do you think she's sincere? I think she's sorry she got caught. I think she's sorry about the consequences. I'm not sure she's sorry about what she tried to do. Will you ever forgive her? I thought about that. My daughter, who I raised, who I loved, who tried to destroy me. I don't know, I admitted. Ask me in another 10 years, if I'm still around. Margaret smiled sadly. You'll be around, Walter. You're too stubborn to go anywhere. Last week, I had a health scare. Chest pain. The kids called 911. Turned out to be nothing serious, heartburn and anxiety, but it scared all of us. Grandpa, you can't die, Sophie told me at the hospital, tears streaming down her face. Who will take care of us? Your parents, I said gently. If something happens to me, you'll go back to them. No. All 3 kids said it in unison. Emma grabbed my hand. Grandpa, we've talked about this. The 3 of us. If something happens to you, we want to live with Tom. He's known us our whole lives. We trust him. Did you talk to Tom about this? Yes, Lucas said. He said he'd take us if you said it was okay. I looked at these 3 children I'd fought so hard to protect. They'd even planned for the worst. They'd chosen their own safety net. Then that's what we'll do. I'll talk to Margaret. We'll make it official. If something happens to me, Tom becomes your guardian. Not Mom and Dad? Sophie asked. Not unless you want to go back to them. All 3 shook their heads firmly. That hurt my heart, that Michelle and Derek had lost their children so completely. But it was their own doing. They'd made their choices. Now they lived with them. As for me, I'm 73 years old. My body is failing bit by bit. But my mind is still sharp. And I have 3 grandchildren who need me. People ask me if it's hard, raising kids at my age. Of course it's hard. Some days my hip hurts so much I can barely walk. Some days my hands shake so badly I can't button my own shirt. Some days I'm so tired I fall asleep in my chair at 7 p.m. But then Emma makes honor roll and gives me a hug. Lucas scores a goal in soccer and runs to tell me first. Sophie paints me a picture and says, "This is us, Grandpa, our forever family." And I realize, this is what I was meant to do. Maybe not at 73. Maybe not with shaking hands and a cane, but this is my purpose. These children, this family. Michelle and Derek tried to take everything from me. My money, my independence. my dignity, my grandchildren's love. But they failed, because I fought back, because I documented their lies, because I refused to be dismissed as a confused old man, and because love, real love, not the manipulative kind, is stronger than greed. If you're watching this and you're worried about an elderly person in your life, a parent, grandparent, friend, please pay attention. Elder abuse is real. Financial exploitation is real. And sometimes it comes from the people closest to us. Document everything. Trust your instincts. And never let anyone tell you you're too old to fight for what's right. I'm 73. I have essential tremor. I use a cane. Some days I need a walker. But I saved my grandchildren. I protected my assets. I maintained my independence. And I built a family based on honesty and trust. That's not bad for an old man. If this story moved you, hit that like button right now. And subscribe. There are so many more stories to tell. Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. Your support means everything. Thank you for listening to this old man's story.